Express the confidence interval 73.6% plus or minus 3.6% in interval form. Express the answer in decimal format. Do not enter as percents. Okay, so let's figure this out. They've given us a confidence interval, and this is one of the formats that confidence intervals can be written in. But it's not the lower boundary and the upper boundary. Hopefully you can notice that it wouldn't make sense to have a lower boundary of 73.6 and an upper boundary of 3.6. And there's a plus minus between them. So what this means is that the 73.6 is the point estimate, the sample proportion, which we would have gotten from a sample, and we would be using that as the best single point to estimate the true population proportion. But now we want to widen the target or widen the net to catch the true population proportion, and we're using this margin of error of 3.6. So that means starting here, we're going to go up 3.6 and we're going to go down 3.6 to create a range of values to estimate the true population proportion. So the form it's in right now is sample proportion, or your best point estimate, plus or minus, I'll write it here, plus minus, and I need to give it some special attention, okay, plus or minus the margin of error. All right, so if you take the sample proportion, add and subtract the margin of error, you'll get your confidence interval boundaries. Okay, and we'll express those in the form of lower boundary and upper boundary. And we're going to do that by using an equal sign to do a calculation inside the cell. And then I'm going to take my sample proportion, but I'm also going to make sure to change it to decimal form when I do it, because it says that my answers need to be in decimal format, not percents. So I'm going to do 0.736. And now I'm going to find my lower boundary by subtracting the margin of error, also in percentage form. So I just got to move that decimal place backwards 2 places. So that would be 0.036. And then I'm going to do the same thing for my upper boundary, except this time I'm going to add. So again, I'm doing 0.736. And now this time I'm adding the margin of error of 0.036 to get my answers. Now, here's an advanced solution for you guys that are interested in learning more Excel tricks. If you make a special place for one of the cells, just put your sample proportion in decimal format and your margin of error, E, in decimal format. Then you only have to do that conversion one time for each of them. And then you can come over here and do the calculation by clicking on these cells instead of having to retype. So now I'll click on my sample proportion minus the margin of error and equals my sample proportion plus the margin of error. All right, now when you go to put this answer into your answer box, you're going to need to make sure that you put parentheses around it. So when you enter this, it's going to look like this. You're going to have your parenthesis, and then you'll have the lower boundary 0.7, then a comma, and then your upper boundary 0.772, and then close the parentheses. And that's how you get it done.